Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. We are set for another wild day in the market. So far, we have a lot of stocks trading lower this morning, but it's nothing excessive. We'll say that. Like the SPY's definitely trading lower a little bit, but it looks like we're kind of forming a support. Tom, do you see that level maybe around like 431, maybe 432 for maybe like a minor support level?
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at that today. Actually, I posted it in the Discord as my free day trade right around 4:30. If we fall below that, I'll definitely be looking at some puts today. But yeah, you're right. It looks like a support is definitely forming. And if we start to get a good bounce today, who knows? Maybe we'll see a good recovery. I know yesterday we had that very nice movement at the end of the day. And I think a lot of traders might be looking for a bit of a bounce back to the upside here. So we'll have to see what happens. But, looks like the market's kind of slow today to flat and slightly turning over. The SPY is going to open up down negative 1.6% today. Definitely down a little bit from yesterday's close.
Yeah, true that. So most stocks are red to start the day, but it's okay. Of course, we'd prefer green, but it's all right. Looking at some of the biggest movers so far, I know there was some news with Nvidia, Tom. So Nvidia is down like 3% today, but they are bouncing in a pretty big way so far. News came out this morning that they are quietly preparing to abandon their $40 billion takeover of ARM. So I thought that was interesting. Normally when companies like this in this scenario, like when the ARM deal was released or any merger or acquisition, normally you will see Nvidia stock fall, but then since they're getting rid of the acquisition, you would think it would rise. So that's interesting. But yeah, I figured I'd bring it up.
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic there. I know that a lot of these deals lately have not been going through. Kind of like DraftKings and Entain, their deal didn't go through. I think PayPal was buying Pinterest, and then that deal got scrapped right away. And now this one's sounds like it's going to get scrapped. So definitely interesting, and I really hope that it helped Nvidia out. And I wonder if Nvidia is a little bit worried, Mike, because their stock has been dipping down in a pretty major way here, falling actually a lot more, I think, than people expected. And whenever we look at this fall like this, maybe Nvidia is going to be a little bit worried about cash flow here over the next few months. I know, I know they've been a powerhouse, but with everything going on and with the major dips, it's pretty crazy that they're going to abandon this so quickly.
Yeah. I'm sure it's very strategic. We know how Nvidia has a very their leadership knows what they're doing, and they're in a very explosive industry. So we'll definitely keep our eyes monitoring this situation. But Tom, with this merger and acquisition, it kind of makes me like look at Activision and Microsoft. Like I know that stock popped up, Activision, last week, and it's just been holding its ground, which is totally expected. But with all of these like mergers and acquisitions kind of falling through lately, it just makes you wonder.
Yeah, I know, you're right. It really does, because who knows? Maybe this one will end up getting scrapped or something too. I know that Microsoft is a pretty big company. They might be able to withstand this, so maybe they'll end up sticking with the deal. And I really hope that Microsoft does, to be honest, because man, Activision really popped with that news. And like we talked about, if they end up buying out Activision for $90 a share or whatever it was, that's going to hurt a lot of investors who are trying to like play that opportunity there. So I really hope that the deal goes through. But yeah, like we've been seeing, I mean, a lot of them have been getting scrapped lately. I know Pinterest was one of the major ones. We can see they flew up for a few days, and then as soon as that deal got scrapped, their stock ended up tanking and making brand new lows. It was pretty crazy to see how low they ended up dropping once that deal ended up going away. So I really hope the Activision deal goes through. I like the deal, and I think it'll be really good for Microsoft in the long term if it does happen.
Sounds good. So looking at some of the potential movers for today, I know we have a lot of eyes on Tesla. Honestly, it's not really moving too much right now, but remember that they do have a big week ahead of them with earnings coming up. That's going to be very important. We have Tesla on Wednesday after close. Thank you for pulling that up, Tom. But yeah, we have a lot of big earnings to end the week. Like I know the market's been so wild already, but Tom, like tomorrow Powell plus Tesla earnings, and then after that we have Apple earnings.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then we have earnings today. Even like we had Verizon report this morning. They're looking pretty good. Lockheed Martin came in. I know Johnson & Johnson was a big one. They don't have too much movement, but Yeah, a lot of these stocks are making some decent moves at least after their earnings, which is pretty big. I know that Boeing's going to be reporting soon too, and yeah, it's going to be a crazy earnings season, Mike. My favorite one is probably going to be I'd have to say Apple is probably like my favorite as far as like, the biggest company in the market, but of course everyone's going to be watching Tesla tomorrow. That's going to be the biggest one after close. And I just can't wait to see what Tesla talks about because, every time they report, people are looking so closely at their reservation numbers, their production numbers, and if they're meeting their goals or not. And if those goals are met, Tesla could end up recovering up in a pretty major way.
No doubt. And they've done it a lot in the past. So we will see. I'm really looking forward to Robinhood's earnings. They report after close on Thursday. But I'm very, very curious to see what their how they performed over the most recent quarter. The stock over the past year went from 85 and now it's all the way down to 13. So it's been getting destroyed. I'm very curious to see how they're doing with like the crypto market crashing and just like a slowdown in everything, you can say. Like I know in 2020 and then even in like early 2021, it's just like I feel like retail traders were more active in the markets, but now that everything has kind of slowed down and maybe gotten like a little bit less volatile, I'm curious to see what their numbers are looking like. So I don't know. I'm just very curious because I know they make most of their money from payment for order flow, and obviously the more trading that's going on with retail traders, whether it's stocks, options, or crypto, the better for them.
Yeah, hopefully they announce a little bit of an uptick here. Like with the SPY going crazy over the past, I should say about the past month. It's obviously some volume has picked up, especially over the past couple of weeks. So I really feel like that, they might report some good numbers, but the one thing I'm worried about is that, it's only been like the past few weeks that we've seen this volume start to really shoot through the roof. So I'm a little worried to see how it's going to go, but I really hope that those numbers come out well for Robinhood. And Mike, they need a good earnings report. Like, I don't know if they can go much lower at this point. Like, I don't think anybody expected Robinhood to be down here around $11 at the low. Like, that's just so crazy. And I know that they came onto the market with a pretty good valuation, but man, they just got destroyed.
It's been brutal, Tom. So, let's say they fall on this earnings report. It almost, makes it, a good potential buy. I'll take a look at their fundamentals, if they do have a big fall. But it's let's say they fell down to, $7 or, $8 or $9. It's then at that point, you're, considering buying the dip.
Yeah, exactly. And then like we talked about, there's a lot of volatility picking up right now. And if the SPY and a lot of these tech stocks keep falling, and especially with Bitcoin getting as low as it is, we might start to see a lot of volume come in. And if we do, I mean, that might help Robinhood. It might not necessarily help them on this earnings, but maybe on the next one. And obviously for the next few quarters, I'll really have my eye on Robinhood because as this volatility picks up, you're right. I mean, that's a really good trading opportunity here, in my opinion. If that volatility really picks up, Robinhood, I think, could recover in a pretty major way. And I'm not saying they're going to get back to $40 or $80, but, I could see a nice pop.
Yep, we will see. So we have J Deep mentioning Sofi. So let's take a look. SOFI. This one has been all over the place, Tom. I know they had that great news last week with their bank charter, and that was awesome. The market volatility has been making this one swing like crazy. So it's at a decent level if you want to buy it. They definitely have growth potential, and it's better to be buying the dip at $13.20 rather than $22 like it was at a couple months ago.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty crazy to see how it double topped up there, around $24, and it fell below those major support levels. That was just crazy to see. And honestly, I was a little bit worried about this one last week. I know that it had that dip before they had that news of the bank charter. They were getting pretty low there, breaking some pretty major supports down around $12. And I'm definitely going to keep my eye on them also. I like this one for the long term, Mike. I think it'll end up doing pretty well. And, I've been looking into their app and into their website a little bit. And I think it looks pretty interesting, actually, especially for people who are brand new to the market.
Yeah, and then another thing is that since they got that bank charter, they will be able to cut a lot of their internal costs, and then they'll also be able to offer, a lot better services to their customers in the sense that they can offer higher interest rates and things like that. So that's good to see. In terms of looking at their stock, they're at a decent level. They have growth potential. It's just, you know, if you want to have exposure to this company, by all means go for it. But yeah, I mean it's really not a bad play, and like all the financial services stocks have been getting absolutely destroyed lately. Like Upstart and even Affirm, Tom, have just been it's been brutal. So maybe even look at them.
Yeah, definitely. Those ones are down a lot too. Actually, looking at like a firm, they almost double bottom down here around $46.50. They got pretty close to that bottom support. So maybe that'll be a pretty good buy down here. I know that they're looking pretty decent today. If AFRM even breaks above the high of yesterday, right around $59, I could see them having another intraday run today. They're actually in the red right now, even though they've been popping up like a lot of other stocks. So yeah, I could see this one possibly doing pretty well today. And even over the next few months, like I actually really like some of these opportunities down here, Mike, at these lows. And I believe look at the big drop we've even seen out of the big banks. Like look at JP Morgan down here at $142, down from their highs of 170. Like I bet nobody expected a drop like this out of the banks.
True. All right, so Tom, looking at some upwards movement, we're actually seeing a pretty good day out of like BABA. It's up like 1.3%. It's looking pretty good. It's not like doing amazing just yet, but still, like you can't really ask for a better open.
Yeah, definitely. It's doing very well. It broke above that high of yesterday, which is great. I think that's great. Great to see. It didn't break above the high of pre-market yesterday, but it broke above the high of intraday movement, which is awesome. And then we can even go look at some of the other China plays like Baidu. Baidu's really exploding up today also, and it's really good to see some of these China plays turning around. I know some of the ETFs might not be doing as well as like BABA individually, but yeah, I mean it's great to see them turning around, especially after I feel like China stocks had a particularly bad day yesterday, especially when a lot of stocks started recovering.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of stocks have been struggling, and I definitely know what you mean. How about we take a look at the SPY really, really quickly? It's kind of not doing anything, but at the same time, it's at like a crucial point. Like, we're at this point where, like, this morning it was looking like we were going to bounce off like that 431, 432 support. But now at open, it looks like we're definitely seeing some increased selling pressure come in right now.
Yeah, we are. And as we start to fall down, I'm going to be eyeing up 430 now after this. And then below 430, I'm going to eye up like 427. You could say 426 down here, but definitely going to eye up some of these levels coming up. And I'm really hoping the market can honestly hold its ground today. You know, we have a big event coming up tomorrow with Powell speaking at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's going to be huge. Obviously, they're going to go over a lot of big events that have been happening regarding inflation. They're probably going to taper bond purchasing again. We might even start to see them talk about raising rates maybe at the next FOMC meeting. So we'll have to see what they talk about. But I've been hearing a lot of people saying that they are expecting the Fed to start to raise rates at least in March. And that's honestly, we're almost to the start of February now, so it's only about a month away. Like, we're getting a lot closer, I think, than people realize, and the market's definitely not liking it. I mean, we've been selling off day after day heading into this week, and I'm pretty worried. I'm really hoping the SPY can at least hold its ground heading into these events tomorrow. At least then, whenever the events happen, if they do end up tanking, at least we won't already be below some of these lows here.
True. So hopefully the market pops up, and then we have Sean saying Palantir looking nice. What levels you got? And then he said never mind, but we got you, Sean. So let's take a look. Palantir, it's down like 1.3%. It is still looking nice. Like I know it had this pretty strong red candle right now, but it's still a decent start to the day. So Tom, I know that like $13 is like a pretty strong support level, but there's a lot of levels on this one. So what do you have for support and resistance?
Yeah, you're right. There is a lot of levels actually on this. And I will say, as we start to go up today, it looks like early in the morning, we were actually bouncing off of that $13 support that you mentioned. We were moving up in a very nice way. And now we're kind of stuck here at $13.50, which seems to be a pretty big resistance. We bounced at $13.50 and 13 quite a bit over the past couple days. And even we've had some good bounces at 14 and then 14.50. I know it sounds weird, but it seems like this one has a support / resistance at every 50-cent increment just about. So definitely watch it. And, we talk about those psychological numbers being big levels. And whenever a stock's only $13, 50 cents is a pretty big move.
Absolutely, that's huge. Like think about it, like $13, like only a $1.30 move is 10%, which is that's big. So that's interesting. And Palantir has been struggling a lot lately, but then again, a lot of companies have been too. So that is interesting to see. Tom, are you seeing like any notable movers today? Like whether it's the upside or the downside? Like what are you seeing?
You know, one that really caught my eye today was Moderna. I know they had some pretty explosive movement, especially early on. But again, though, they kind of look like some of these other stocks that have been popping up, kind of like Baba. You know, like some of these stocks are running up this morning and they're kind of touching resistance right now. And it looks like Moderna had a pretty good move here at market open, touch resistance, and then came right back down. But so far today, I'm really liking the movement out of Moderna to the upside. And then as far as plays to the downside, once again, we're starting to see some pretty big sell-offs again out of big stocks like Matterport down 5.8%. Pretty crazy. We have Unity down another 5%. It just could not continue back up today like a lot of stocks are. But yeah, I mean, my watch list is mostly red today, Mike. I only have a few stocks in the green. Like I said, Moderna and Pfizer for some reason are leading the way up. I don't know if it's because of some more Omicron news came out or what, but either way, I mean, these vaccine stocks and China stocks are the only ones doing well. And then I have Activision in the green. But besides those, just about everything else is red, whether it's Apple, Tesla, even KO and Pepsi are red today. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I was reading CNBC this morning, and I know you were mentioning like the vaccine companies. So how about we take a look at Johnson and Johnson really quickly? This is just like one of those like slow-moving value stocks, but then again, they have their own vaccine, and if I remember correctly, on CNBC, Johnson and Johnson expects to like bring in like $3 billion with the vaccine. I don't know. I think it was just this year, or was it for the next quarter? I'll have to take a look at that. Oh yeah, so it says Johnson and Johnson expects more than $3 billion in COVID vaccine sales this year. So that's interesting. I mean, Johnson and Johnson really didn't really move like Moderna and Pfizer over like the past year, because those vaccine stocks exploded, but J&J didn't really move.
Yeah, and you know, I don't really keep up with the vaccine news too much. I don't know if maybe Moderna and Pfizer had better vaccines or something. I know that I've heard Pfizer, I can't remember which one, Mike, but one of them is just like you only get one shot, and then one of the companies you have to go get two different shots. I can't remember the exact ones, but either way, looking at these companies like Johnson and Johnson, it honestly had a pretty good bounce at support here, Mike, especially on a technical level. It's been bouncing a lot around this 160. You could say like 156 to 160 support. Honestly, doesn't look too bad for a buy here, especially like you said with that good earnings report.
Yep. Alrighty. So then we have Iranical saying Fubo's moving good. I hope to continue. So FUBO. This stock has also had a hard time over the past couple months too. Yeah, I mean, it's trying to bounce off this like $10 support.
Yeah, there's actually a pretty big support down here, right around $8 to $10. You know, you can see all the way back whenever this stock IPO'd, it had a lot of movement right around this support, and I'm glad to see it kind of holding its ground here. Maybe this will finally be the bottom for Fubo, but you know, I'll be honest, Mike, like I like Fubo because it's a sports streaming stock, but I feel like that there's just better stocks out there, especially at levels like this. Like whenever we see companies with better fundamentals like Zoom and companies like that down here at good levels, I feel like it's just a lot better of a pickup than a company like Fubo. But I will say Fubo has a lot of upside potential if they can start to, you know, do a little bit better. They just need to maybe make some deals with like the NFL or the NHL or something like that, and then maybe they can get themselves going a little bit.
Yeah, like I agree with you. Like I feel like Fubo is not gonna ever be one of those like powerhouse growth companies, but what I can see out of Fubo is like maybe them being acquired by maybe Caesars or DraftKings or MGM or Wynn or, I mean, who knows, maybe Disney. But even like FanDuel or like Flutter is the parent company. Like I feel like Fubo's never going to be like one of those powerhouse companies, but I feel like at some point maybe they can be like bought out or acquired. But at that same time, if I was ever going to buy them, I would need like a really nice deal. So we'll see.
Oh my gosh, Mike, look at the SPY right now. I don't know if this is a glitch or what just happened, but we just had a print down at 364.68 and we were trading at $430. I'm really hoping this was a glitch. Like, wow,
Yeah.
this is crazy to see. I think it was a glitch considering that the volume wasn't too heavy right there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a glitch, but look at the QQQ.
Wow, let's see it. QQQ. Oh man, yeah, it's starting to really turn over. Like, wow, that's pretty crazy. I guess, I said in my morning post today, we might see the calm before the storm, or we're gonna see a crazy sell-off. And I really hope
Oh,
the crazy sell-off isn't coming.
wow. I'm just like looking at this chart. Wow. Okay.
I can't. How do you even get a print down there at 364? Like, that's insane. Like,
Gotcha.
man, could you imagine if the SPY really dropped that much? Like, I mean, obviously we'd hit circuit breaker after circuit breaker, but wow, I mean, that's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, so George says he doesn't see that glitch on TradingView. So that's good. So it's probably just a thinkorswim glitch, but Tom, like you said, imagine if like the market like actually looked like that, but Jerry goes, "Tom, you scared the crap out of me."
Yeah, sorry. I'm glad it's a glitch though. Thank you guys for letting us know,
Uh,
because wow, I mean that's crazy to see a print like this. And Mike, I know sometimes like we'll see crazy prints like this in pre-market and after hours, and sometimes the stock ends up actually moving down to some of those levels. So
True.
I really hope that we don't see a move out of the SPY that's in a pretty bad way. This is pretty crazy to see a glitch this bad.
Yeah, Tom, you kind of scared me too. Like I was just like talking, and then out of nowhere, you're like, "Oh my god!" I was like,
Yeah, I know. Like it's crazy. I can't believe it. Like it had. I have a SPY on a separate chart on a different monitor here, and I was like, oh my gosh, like the world's ending or something. Like what just happened?
"Wow." Yeah, Keisha
Actually,
said,
I really hope that there wasn't some war news or something now that I
Yeah.
see this.
Let's see. Let's take a look at Spy News. Let's see. Spy News. No, I'm not seeing anything. I mean, the only thing was like the home price index, but that was like 30 minutes ago, and it wasn't even that major. And then Keisha said, I see the same glitch on Thinkorswim and on Finviz. So yeah, well, I'm just happy it's a glitch. Yeah, so we will see.
Good thing the futures don't look like that.
True, but yeah, we are seeing a sell-off though. Looking at ES futures or even QQQ, like we're right at this low of day, and yeah, I mean we're trading lower minute by minute.
Yeah, we really are. It might not be a bad play to maybe get like a put or two here. At least as long as you guys have some long-term positions, it might not be bad to take a bit of a hedge play. I know that GLD's actually been moving pretty well today, Mike, to the upside. Like, look at gold, actually. That got a pretty big pop. We're up to 173. Gold's actually starting to break out in a pretty major way here, actually.
Tom, I was just gonna say that gold and silver are looking pretty good. Like they're running up. Of course, you're not gonna see a run up with these like you will out of like growth plays, but still, it's like I'm curious if. No, I'm pretty confident that investors are flocking into gold and silver right now because like they look at the market, they're like, nah, I don't wanna. I don't want to mess with this right now, or I want to de-risk at least a little bit. They look at real estate, and while it's still, over the long term, it's better to, just buy and hold. Like, even that's expensive. You look at cryptocurrencies, that's tanking down, and there's a bunch of panic with that. And gold and silver and just precious metals in general are, like, one of the very few asset classes that are kind of, like, holding their ground, but also, like are good for the long term. You know what I mean? Because of course we can find specific ETFs in the market right now that are trending up, but those normally aren't good holds for the long term.
Yeah, and one thing I really even like about these markets too is that they've also been beaten down for the past year and a half to 2 years almost. Like gold had a pretty big high here, at least GLD did, around 194 at August of 2020. And ever since then, we've just been consolidating in this humongous range between 160 and 180 pretty much. And, it looks like we're having a pretty good breakout here. We're up above this trend line. And yeah, it doesn't look bad, especially with the way it was beaten down and the way it consolidated for so long. Like you'd have to expect a move eventually. And with high inflation and everything, especially with the way the market's tipping over, I think investors are going to start just flocking into some of these metals.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then we have Keisha saying, am I in the wrong gold? I am in GOLD, not GLD. What's the difference and which is better? So which is better really comes down to your personal opinion, but GOLD or gold is a gold mining company. It's called Barrick Gold. So they're a gold mining company. However, GLD is a gold ETF. So it's like GLD basically just moves off of the price of gold, while GOLD can move off of, the gold mining company's profits or their outlook or, how their gold mining operation is doing or regulations and things like that. So it really depends on what you're looking for. In my personal opinion, I would say GLD is better.
Yeah, I would say GLD is better also, especially for safety. Maybe for growth, GOLD can be a little bit better. I will say GOLD is looking pretty good down here around this $18 support. And the good news is that if gold goes up, these mining companies generally start to make a lot more money because obviously they're able to sell what they're mining for more, obviously. So they generally do pretty good. And we can see that back whenever gold was at highs around August of 2020, you can see, well, I should say the commodity gold was at highs. You can see that the stock GOLD was also at highs. So it moves kind of in sympathy with gold, but it's obviously not 100%. But long story short, though, if gold recovered, like, for example, if GLD recovers back up to like 180 or 190, we'll probably see GOLD move up at least a little bit.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So checking back in on the market, we're so much. Tom, you got to look at the daily chart of the SPY. This looks ridiculous.
I know. I actually just saw that a minute ago. I'd like, oh my gosh, could you imagine? Like, it almost looks like Netflix, actually.
Wow. Like, look at that. I hope Thinkorswim fixes that. That just looks stupid.
Yeah, you're right. That really does. And especially with that low of volume today, like, could you imagine if we really were that low, the volume would probably be at like all-time record levels today. Like, that would be insane. I remember, Mike, in like the 80s, remember we had like Black Monday, and we had like a pretty crazy like single day drop with the market. And I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but wow, I mean, that's kind of what that reminded me of there.
Yeah. Jeez. Wow. Alrighty. So I know there was going to be a lot of crazy things happening this week, but I was not expecting this. But anyways, checking back in on some of the market movers so far. Tom, we have like even Apple bleeding off to the downside, Facebook, JP Morgan, Microsoft, VIX is popping. So we're definitely seeing a lot of selling pressure, and it's even coming from some of the larger stocks. Of course, we had the VIX still elevated and creeping up there, so that's not good to see. The ARK fund is still taking a pretty decent hit. That's down like 5% or so. What else? What else do we have going on? Are you seeing any good setups or any movers?
We were kind of talking about Bitcoin a little bit this morning before the stream, and like looking at Bitcoin, like it's definitely at some decent buying levels now for the long term with the way it's down, 50% from all-time highs. Now, I know, a lot of traders look at Bitcoin and they're like, hey, it's down 50%. Maybe now's the time to buy. I know that we were kind of talking about this earlier before the stream. And, I had kind of said like, I thought maybe Bitcoin could end up going a little bit lower here. Kind of like we saw in the past, Bitcoin dropped from 20,000 down to 4,000. Now we're sitting at 36,000 and the highs were up here around, 68K. So yeah, I mean, we're down around 50% here. It definitely seems like a good longer term opportunity, Mike, but man, I'm curious to see how this ends up moving in the short term. Like if we fall below like 30,000 again, it's going to probably sell off in a big way.
So over the past couple months, Bitcoin went from 69,000 down to, what was it, lows of like 32 or 33,000 today. That is crazy, crazy movement. Does this mean it's the low? Absolutely not. But there can definitely be some more selling pressure. But either way, this movement is crazy because, Tom, like that, like let's say you bought coins or Bitcoin at 68,000 and now it's at 33 or 36 or whatever. It's like you're down a significant amount on your money. And whether you're holding a stock, any cryptocurrency, a house, a car, anything, when you can be down 50% in a matter of months, that's insane. Does this mean it's bad? No, it's just extremely volatile. I mean, some of the growth stocks that we play, like DraftKings and Zoom and Palantir and a bunch of other ones, those are down a significant amount as well. Either way, it's crazy to see Bitcoin moving the way it is. And I actually read an article this morning on CNBC, and ever since Bitcoin's high of like 69,000 or so, ever since that, the crypto market has lost $1 trillion in value.
That's actually pretty crazy. I didn't know it. Oh, the whole crypto market,
Yes.
not just
Yeah.
Bitcoin, right?
Correct. Correct.
Wow, that's crazy though. $1 trillion. That's like Apple 2 years ago, like that's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. Like I can't believe that it's lost $1 trillion. And that should go to show you how much money's been flowing into Bitcoin. Like I know that a few years ago, Bitcoin's valuation wasn't as high as it is now. I think I saw the valuation this morning on Bitcoin was somewhere like 600 and hold on, I actually have it pulled up, $694 billion right now, which is kind of crazy to see. I'll actually bring it up on the chart. I don't know if this is an accurate market cap here, but it says 694 billion. So looking at it, I mean, I would definitely think that, and it's definitely a big drop, Mike, from the all-time high. And like we've been saying, like if you guys like cryptos for the long term, now would be the time to start averaging in. I think it'll be a great opportunity here over the next few months. Like even if it does go below 30,000, as long as you're averaging in, I think you'll be really happy over the longer term. But just keep in mind like that this thing is very volatile. The last time we dropped like this, we dropped from 20,000 all the way down to 4,000. Now, I don't think we're going to drop that much again, but just keep in mind, we're already down 50%. It could go a little bit lower if we break the 30,000 support. But yeah, I definitely like it for the long term, Mike. And would you say that averaging in here is a pretty good way to go?
Yeah, of course, does this mean it's the bottom? No. But if you like it for the long term and you liked Bitcoin when it went from 32,000 up to 69,000, then you should like it now that it's back to right around that level. So it's interesting to say the least, but with Bitcoin falling, it just shreds a lot of value, because I was actually just looking at the market caps just like you were, Tom, and you were right. So the current market cap for Bitcoin is around $694 billion. At its high, it was around like almost 1.3 trillion. So it's like $600 billion has just been wiped away with Bitcoin. And it's just volatile and it's crazy, but I'm sure it's going to have like a large ripple effect across other cryptocurrencies and even the smaller ones. So for example, like I know Ethereum's holding up pretty well and they're definitely a larger cryptocurrency, but over the past year there have been like a lot of like I guess you can say pump and dumps, but there have been like a lot of coins rising that have not should have not even like popped in the first place. Like there's like coins called like poop coin and stuff like that, and it's like I'm sure like all those like what people like to call like the crap coins or whatever, like I'm sure those are going to take a devastating hit. And honestly, I can see a lot of them like not even popping back up after the movement we're seeing with Bitcoin and the overall crypto market right now.
Yeah, you're right, because some of these are just getting like straight up destroyed. Like if we go look at stuff like just like a random one, just like I'll just go look at like a random one like XRP. Like it's fairly safe. It's one that people like they kind of like it. It's kind of like one of those like altcoins, I guess you could say. But you can see how much this one's even down. Like from its all-time high, it's down a lot. Like its all-time high was around like almost $2, and we're sitting like at 59 cents. And even over the past couple months, it had highs of like $1.40. So pretty crazy to see the crazy movement out of some of these, especially like you said, with Bitcoin down 50%, it's causing some of the other ones to go down like 70% in some cases. It's just crazy.
Yep. Alrighty, so we have J Deep mentioning Novavax. So I believe that's NVAX. Let's take a look. NVAX. Oops. Yep. So it is. Wow. It's actually up 7% today. So it's one of the few stocks in the green. Holy, like Tom, if you look at a max weekly of this stock, it is insane. Like this is the definition of volatility. So when it IPO'd back in like 2001, it went from like 150 all the way up to 300, and then it went from 300 down to 20, and then it went from 20 up to 155, and then it went down to 20 again, and then it went all the way up to 300, and then it went to $3, and then it went up to 331, and now it's back at 84. So I don't even know what to think about this one. I don't really follow them too much. It's a complete roller coaster right now. I would have to do more research to give like a better opinion.
Yeah, and personally, I don't know what to think. Like, look at their earnings here. Their EPS looks god awful. Like, they came in with a negative 4.31 EPS on their last earnings report, and it's honestly just been getting worse and worse. I don't know. I honestly, looking at the EPS numbers, I'll have to go look at the dashboard in a second. But Mike, I mean, they actually reverse split whenever they fell down here in a pretty major way last time. Like, I feel bad for anyone who's been holding this for the long term. I think this one could make some good like intraday opportunities, maybe here or there if you see some good setups. But personally, for the longer term, I don't know if I'd touch it. And I'm definitely going to look at it on this dashboard because man, those numbers were looking bad at least over the past few quarters this year. Like, I bet whenever we go look at the quarterly data, they're going to come in with some pretty bad stuff. Maybe not, but we'll have to see. Let's see. Oh yeah, look at the quarterly revenue here. Over the past couple quarters, it's been honestly on a pretty bad decline.
Yeah, and then like just look over the past 10 years, Tom. They're just so inconsistent. Like the revenue and cost of revenue over the past 10 years, it's like, all right, in 2011, like you bring in 15 million in revenue, and then like you grow for a couple years, and then you just like casually lose half of your revenue from like 2015 to 2016, and then you gain it all back in 2017. And I don't know. It's a mess. I don't even
And
know
look
what
at
to
their
think
net
about it.
profit, negative 89%. I mean, wow.
Yeah, so that's bad. I mean, their net income has not been positive for the past 10 years, which, if you're like a growth company, that's okay, but it's like 10 years and then like they just consistently lose money. Like look at their operating and free cash flow, bottom right. Yeah, like that's just constantly in the negative. It's like even with like here's what's concerning, Tom. In 2020, their revenue jumped by a significant amount, and like their cash flow, like that, it couldn't even go in the positive then, and they still weren't even profitable. So it's like, nah. I mean, maybe for like a short term like play, NVAX can be decent, but when you look at their fundamentals, it's just brutal.
Yeah, it looks like they had a little bit of help from COVID there for a while. Is probably why they got that initial jump, But yeah, looking at it, like I would say, just play it for some intraday plays. It has a lot of volatility. It has lots of movement. Personally, like I don't think I'd play options on it with the IV this high, but like look at the way it's moving. It's up 7% today. Like honestly, 7% on some shares wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's a very volatile stock. It's at that $80 support, so maybe it's decent for like a dip buy with shares, and then maybe you dump them off in like a couple days or like a week or two. That can be decent. It's just their fundamentals are kind of pretty bad. So good stuff there, J Deep. And let's see. Hunter said negative free cash flow for a decade. Definitely not a good thing. Like I can understand like when you have negative free cash flow or like if you're losing money in the beginning stages. I mean, look at Tesla. Tesla's first profitable full year was in 2020. Where we can pull up the data right now, but that's a big thing. It's okay to have negative cash flow for a little bit and negative income, but it's like you have to eventually turn it over like Tesla did. We can see how in 2020 in the gross profit versus operating income versus net income, their first full profitable year was in 2020. Every year before that, they lost money, so not good. But then again, like if you're investing into growth companies, it's okay to have that negative cash flow. Let's see. We have Spacely saying, hit that like button, guys. Yeah, if you like the stream, it would really help us out if you could smash that like button and let us know what stocks you're watching. We can definitely take a look at them. Tom, I know we had some crazy movement in the market so far today. How are we looking?
Yeah, so far we're looking pretty bad still. The SPY's just been continually going lower and lower. I know now this 1 minute, the way that this weird print came on here now, it's kind of hard to see on the SPY, but if we go look at /ES, which is S&P 500 futures, we've just continued lower over the past few minutes. Looks like we are finding a little bit of intraday support around 42.80, at least on the /ES. If we go look at QQQ, it's been kind of selling off as well. It also is kind of finding some support down here, like right around 342. So I will be watching for these to possibly pop back up, at least over the next few minutes. But I'm really concerned still overall today, Mike. Like there's just no stocks in the green. like I just don't really see the market coming back as of now unless we see stocks like Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, and stocks like that start to rip back up. Then the market might recover. But personally, I just don't see it today. We've just been flat, and I could just see us honestly maybe holding our ground and going flat into tomorrow's event. Sometimes we have slower days from right before these big things like Powell speaking. So we'll have to see how that goes. But Mike, DWAC is actually back on the uptrend here. This one actually rose to the top of my watch list. It's up 6% now, and it wasn't moving it open, but it had a lot of volume come in over the past like 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's a good one to keep on your radar because I know it was like a pretty big hype play over like the past couple weeks, and then the Truth Social is supposed to launch in what is it, like 2 to 3 weeks now, so that should be interesting. So definitely keep that one on your radar. We have Raymond saying looking at UAL and AAL for a day trade. So yeah, I mean they're kind of all over the place today, just like the market overall is. So they're definitely pretty volatile though, which can be awesome for day trading. So hopefully you get some nice plays on this one. There's definitely a lot of volatility today, which should be great. Another interesting mover we have, Tom, is actually Airbnb. Looking at Airbnb over the past year, they've been all over the place. Like I know in May they were at like $130 and they ended up popping all the way up to $210, but it looks like we're like slowly heading back down to like that 130 level.
Yeah, it does. It looks like that. It looks like a pretty bad move actually on the max daily chart. Definitely not looking good. Hopefully we can end up holding 130 because we've definitely had two bounces there before, and I really hope it holds because this stock is another one that's been beaten down so much that I was really hoping for a recovery out of this one, especially whenever it was starting to move back up towards like 210 like it was. Like I thought that was pretty explosive, especially with Omicron and everything happening, but I guess everything kind of caught up to Airbnb and they ended up coming back down. The whole growth sector was down, so I guess Airbnb falling with it isn't too unexpected, but I'll definitely be eyeing up that 130 support. That's actually huge, and I'm going to actually mark that level on my chart here.
Sounds good. We have Vicky saying good morning. No internet until now. Comcast is trash. Yeah, I mean, I guess nothing beats in like when Tom or when we're live and then like one of our internets go out and we're just like sitting there like, Tom, you there? Or oh gosh, but
it's so funny when that happens. Like, and it's sometimes like it'll just lag in and out for like half a second, but then it like totally freezes for like one person, but then the other person's fine.
True. Yeah, it's like we'll just be like having a conversation and then I'll get like no response. I'm like, you muted? No. And then like all like 10 seconds later it's just a giant picture of my face on the screen because you left the meeting. Oh gosh. Alrighty, so then we have Megan saying DWAC going to $100 quick. Trump rallies and Truth Network starting next month. So we shall see. It's at like $71 right now. It's definitely a very volatile stock, and the more hype that the Truth Social launch gets, the better it should be for DWAC. It's definitely a hype play as of right now. There has been some good volume flowing in over like the past 2 to 3 weeks, which is always good to see. But yeah, we'll definitely keep it on our radar.
Yeah, we'll be watching that along with Facebook and Snapchat, even Twitter. I feel like DWAC, like I feel like people haven't been talking about this enough in the markets, or at least the analysts at some of these major companies have not been mentioning this near enough, in my opinion. Like if we look at DWAC, for example, ever since this stock IPO'd back in like October, like we've seen stocks like Facebook start to sell off in pretty major ways. Facebook, Twitter, TWTR, Snapchat, like man, like all these stocks have been dropping in major ways. And, when I say major, I mean, look at Snapchat's earnings. They dropped. A lot of people were blaming the earnings right there, but it happened right after DWAC as well. So maybe DWAC is playing a role into their earnings possibly being bad. Maybe they're going to have a worse outlook because of DWAC. And I really think that DWAC is going to affect some of these companies in a major way. And it's going to really change the social media landscape. Like for the longest time, we've been stuck with, 3 main companies as like our main social media outlets. And it's going to be really cool to finally see like a new player on the block. It's very rare. We've seen and I'm putting politics aside here, just saying in general, it's just cool to finally see something new. I was hoping that like with all this metaverse news, maybe Facebook would start to come out with something new, but obviously that's going to be a couple years down the road. But it's cool to finally see some like a new face for once. Like we've been stuck with Facebook forever, I feel like.
Yeah, so looking at DWAC, their market cap is like $2 billion. When you compare that to Twitter, Twitter has a market cap of $30 billion right now. So it's like there's definitely potential for DWAC, but they also have a lot of work to do. Like a $2 billion valuation is it's nice, but it's also like they have to really I don't know how to describe this. Like they have a lot of work to do to justify that valuation. I'll say that because we don't really know too much about what exactly Truth Social is going to look like 100%. Like we've been, told like a lot of like, little pieces of information, but like it didn't even release yet, So it's like it's hard to put a valuation on a company that's like not even like in use yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good statement to make. And, it's kind of like Rivian. I know Rivian came in with a lot higher valuation and everyone was saying, they shouldn't have been up there and been warranted. They fell back and look at Rivian. They're actually at 55. Mike, weren't we talking about them falling to $50 or 55 like a long time ago?
Probably.
I think that you actually said like a few weeks ago, you were like, Tom, I might even entertain picking some up if they fall down to 55.
True.
And look at this. I can't believe we actually dipped down this much. And one thing that I am happy about, Mike, is I'm glad that DWAC came onto the market at $2 billion rather than them overvaluing it and coming onto the market at $10 billion or $20 billion or something like that. I think that that's a good thing at least. But looking at DWAC, you're right. They have a lot of room to go. They have a lot of stuff to talk about. But I will say though that this platform has been pretty hyped up, and I know that there's been other platforms like Parler, other platforms like that try to, get the hype out there. But I will say Truth Social seems like it's getting a lot more, like the snowball effect is happening a little bit more with this one than it was with Parler and with a couple of the others. So I feel like it's going to do pretty good. And honestly, like I've seen some pictures of like how the app is going to be set up, and it's kind of like a mix between Facebook and Twitter. So I don't know. We'll have to see. It's definitely going to be interesting, and it'll definitely throw a wrench into the social media platforms.
Yep. We'll see. I mean, it's a very competitive and tough industry, but if Truth can get some good market share, that could be huge. So we will see. We have Vicky saying needs Starlink from Elon's company. That's going to work for sure. Yeah, I'm curious when they're going to do an IPO with that one. I heard rumors that like Tesla shareholders might get quicker access to buy the Starlink IPO. I don't know if that is true or not, but it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I actually heard that same exact rumor, and I guess that would make sense. I guess that he's going to reward the shareholders. So I mean, I guess that would make sense to me. But either way, though, I mean that is going to be very interesting whenever Starlink does go public, if it goes public. I think that it'd be very nice for it to go public, but we have to keep in mind that if Elon did allow this to go public, it might take a lot of volume away from Tesla. So at the same time, like I know there's lots of strategy behind a lot of that stuff, and he's probably been keeping SpaceX off the market to try to boost Tesla up a little bit too.
Yeah. Alrighty.
And plus, you always have to get worried about then, the board of directors,
True.
With the way Elon tweets, who knows? He might get booted off soon.
Oh, gosh. Alrighty, so looking at some of the plays right now, it looks like we're trying to pop back with a couple of these growth plays. Like I was just looking at good old DraftKings really quickly, and it looked good like right at open, and then it kind of sold off with the market, but now it's trying to come back up. So we're not really seeing any movement out of this one today, and you can say the same thing about like even Corsair and even Baba at this point. So looks like we're attempting to go for like a breakout kind of, but honestly, there's just a lot of stocks that are just doing nothing right now.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that they're at least holding their ground. Sometimes we see sell-offs into these events with Powell, and like I said before, sometimes we see days that are just super flat, and today might be one of those flat days. I know tomorrow is going to be such a big event that I feel like investors are definitely going to be a little bit uneasy heading into this. It looks like the SPY's been popping back up on the 1 minute a little bit ever since we had that little drop earlier. So that's good to see at least. Yeah, the market's just not doing anything, Mike. And I wonder how some of these commodities are doing, like kind of like oil. I know crude oil has been on a huge uptrend lately, and it looks like today it's actually kind of moving back to the upside. I wonder how like ZOM and CVX are doing, and yeah, they're kind of doing nothing with the rest of the market.
Alrighty, so we have Sam saying, is Powell also talking today too? No, his main press conference is tomorrow. The Fed meetings are 2 days long, but really or actually no. So yeah, I mean, just the main thing is tomorrow with the Fed rate decision. So tomorrow is the big day. We're going to know more about rates, and then Powell will have a press conference. So there's not really anything with Powell going on today. So yeah, be ready for tomorrow. It will be live streamed all over YouTube, and it's definitely going to be a very important day. So, Tom, do you have any last minute plays or any input or anything before we wrap up the stream?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the overall market, I will say expect a flat day today. That's what I would expect. Maybe towards market close, we'll see some more volatility as people maybe try to hedge their positions for tomorrow. But I think people are starting to realize that we have to keep in mind that Powell's movement doesn't really happen until later in the trading day. So usually early in the morning, the market's still pretty okay. So we'll have to see how it ends up moving, but definitely some big events coming up. Looking at like the SPY and the QQQ, it's going to be crazy. Like if Powell speaks and the QQQ falls below this major support of like 334, it's going to be pretty bad. And if SPY ends up breaking their support around like 326 or 420, I mean, it's definitely not going to be good there either. And just looking at the market with the selling pressure that we've seen lately, like if we look at the QQQ on the max or on the 1 year daily, I mean, we've been going pretty much straight down for like 5 or 6 trading days. So I really hope that Powell helps the market pop back up a little bit. But yeah, we'll just have to see. It's going to be a crazy event. And I will say, if you guys are worried about any long-term positions or anything, it might be a good time to maybe just grab a put or two, even on the SPY or maybe on some stocks that will follow the SPY to the downside if that does happen. But I think it's just a good way to go, especially if you have a lot of longer-term share positions.
Sounds good. Well, thank you guys so much for watching today's stream. Before we end it, I just want to personally thank everyone for joining. So thank you so much, Hunter, George, Sam, Jesse, Keisha, Jerry, I'm Fierce, J Deep, Sean, Iranical, let's see, who else? Spacely, Megan, Vicky, and Raymond. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Hopefully the market pops up so we can have a great day. But besides that, thank you guys for watching and have an amazing rest of your day.